Chapter 4, Use of Strong Terms. Srila Prabhupada's everyday vocabulary was full of words like fool, rascal, demon, muda, nonsense, and stool. He would routinely, matter of factly, brand as rascals not only the horrendously wicked but also many persons who would commonly be considered decent folks. As he clarified, their not being Krishna conscious qualified them for such denunciation. Swavid varohostra karane samsutah purusha pashu. There are many so called great men, and they are very much praised by the general people. So Bhagavat says that anyone who is not a devotee, who never chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he may be very great man in the estimation of rascals, but he is nothing but an animal. How you can say that such a great man is an animal? Our business is a very thankless task. We say any man who is not a devotee of Krishna, he is a rascal. We say generally. It is very harsh word, but we have to use it. In Montreal, a Bengali gentleman inquired, Swamiji, you are using very strong words, fools and rascals. Can it be explained otherwise? And I replied, no. These are the only words that you are all rascals and fools. Considering that Srila Prabhupada used the word rascal so often, it behooves his followers to understand how he used it and what he meant by it. Rascal can have forcefully pejorative sense to mean a low, mean, unprincipled, or dishonest fellow, a rogue. But nowadays it is usually used without serious implication of bad qualities or a mild term of reproof. Srila Prabhupada's usage followed that still current in India, clearly insulting, not jocular, and meant to inflict a sting. Some examples of the kind of people Srila Prabhupada deemed fit to be called rascals. Quote, anyone who does not follow anyone who does not know what is Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, he is a rascal. Rascal means the non-devotees. They have no good qualification. There cannot be any good qualification of a person who is not Krishna conscious, who is not a devotee. This is our conclusion. We have got some test tubes. We can study man. He may become a very good scholar, very good politician, very big minister, but we test whether he has got any sense of Krishna consciousness. If he is not, immediately I understand that here is a rascal number one. Without Krishna consciousness, everyone is a rascal, is a thief, is a rogue, is a robber, these qualifications. Therefore, our conclusion is anyone who does not understand Krishna, he has no good qualification. Neither he is honest, neither he has knowledge. Therefore, he is a third class man. This is not dogmatism, this is fact. Although people declare themselves great scientists, economists, philosophers, politicians, and sociologists, they are actually nothing but rascals. Anyone who denies the existence of God is rascal. Rascal means poor fund of knowledge. Rascaldom means to accept a man as God and to accept God as man. We can understand who is an intelligent man and who is a rascal by this criteria. Rascal means the Mayavadi, Karmi, Jnani, Yogi, all they are rascals. It is our open declaration. Rascal means that however one may kick him on his face, still he will insist. They will never take good lesson, and sensible means he takes good lesson. Namam dushkrino muda. And why they remain rascal? Because they are dushkirtina, very, very sinful. Very, very sinful. Don't you see? They are maintaining slaughterhouse. They are maintaining brothel. They are ruining everyone's life by sense gratification. These are all sinful activities. Therefore, they remain rascal forever. They cannot improve. Because they are so sinful, they have to suffer. Go to the darkest region. They will have to become worms of the stool. That is awaiting them. But they do not know how things are going on. They are thinking we are safe. That is foolishness. That is rascaldom. Rascal means one who has no common sense, even. End of footnote. Srila Prabhupada's definition for terms like fools and nonsense were also similar lines. His were along similar lines. His usage of demon paralleled the Sanskrit term asura and corresponds to the dictionary definition a person of malignant, cruel, terrible, or destructive nature. The unfortunate fact is that nowadays the modern civilization is rascaldom, and the world population is just a royal edition of the animals. For the sake of reforming them, Srila Prabhupada directly informed such rascals and animals that they were rascals and animals. Footnote: for instance, see his response to the blasphemy of an Oxford professor. It is a duty of Srila Prabhupada's followers to not shy away from also stating such facts. Chapter 5: the duty of preacher to present the truth. The prime duty of preacher is not to make or avoid making enemies, nor even to make friends, but to present the truth. And in this wretched world, truth is hardly welcome, while untruth dressed as truth reigns everywhere. Truth has many enemies, and falsity many friends. Accordingly, much of what is considered factual or axiomatic in fields as diverse as science, education, history, politics, and current affairs is whatever powerful vested interest wants the masses to believe. Even in the society of devotees, persons dedicated to deceiving both themselves and others become lauded as great preachers by presenting Krishna consciousness as they would like it to be, or imagine it should be, or according to public expectations of what religion should be. However, to preach the actual truth as received through Guru Parampara is a very different matter. Devotees should be like copper wire, which unimpededly, which unimpededly unimpededly transmits electricity from its source. Devotees who profess to represent Srila Prabhupada yet fail to directly speak the message of Bhagavad Gita as it is, in its pristine, potent magnificence, at least implicitly acquiesce with those demonic personalities who mangle truth, reality, and the teachings of Shastras with demonic propositions such as all paths are the same. Clearly, if even the most apparently successful of preachers delivers anything but straightforward Krishna consciousness, he fails to deliver the genuine truth of Krishna consciousness as given by the Shastra and the previous acharyas. He insults the previous acharyas by claiming to represent them while actually presenting a diluted imitation of their message, thus implying that the acharyas are as insipid as himself. In the name of preaching, he actually swells the cesspool of ignorance. Devotees do not partake in the concept of being well balanced, which is part of the catechism of the materialistic status quo, meant to ensure that semi intellectual dupes remain acquiescent and mediocre. Balance is generally understood to mean a middle position between two viewpoints, but devotees reject from the outset such pabulum epistemology. Devotees are devotees of the truth, which is axiomatically independent of and categorically superior to the opinions of imperfect and misinformed persons. It is this truth, the truth of the jiva's utter dependence on the Supreme Person, that devotees should preach. not being waylaid by reasonable sounding but ultimately atheistic theorems. Indeed, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati particularly specified that the duty of a Vaishnava preacher is to point out the futility of any process besides surrender to the Supreme Lord. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada stated, quote, "Unfortunately, people do not know who God is and how to make him happy. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore meant to present the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly to the people." End footnote. It is simply cheating if, despite having knowledge of the highest truth of Krishna and of the nectar of surrender to Him, which can come only by accepting Krishna's words in toto, devotees do not act as message bearers of the truth, but instead deliver some quasi spiritual drivel. Unless devotees clearly speak the truth, how will others ever become aware of it? Without taking to Krishna consciousness, people are uselessly wasting their life. Only devotees can or will inform others of their need to take to Krishna consciousness, and hence it is the duty of devotees to do so. If not us, who? If not now, when? Undiluted speaking on relevant issues and the decrying of all that is not Krishna conscious are necessary duties of a genuine preacher. The message of the absolute truth must be presented explicitly to definitely distinguish it from the ubiquitous non truth. Quote, "The loyal servant of the absolute truth is required to be an active opponent of all violent enemies of the truth. It is his imperative duty to protest against the violence of non theists in uncompromising terms and take all consequence of such protest. A sadhu is to speak to the householder about the naked truth of life so that they may come to their senses about the precarious life in material existence." End quote. The preacher must aim at transforming his hearers and slashing their worldly attachments. Santa eva sa chindanti mano vyasangam uktibhi. The words of a saintly person emphatically cut the mental attachments of materially attached people. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati explicated this theme. Quote, "The only duty of merciful person is to transform the contrary inclination of conditioned souls. The only duty of sadhus is to cut away all the accumulated wicked propensities of every individual. This alone is the causeless natural desire of all sadhus." End quote. Everyone in this world has accumulated wicked propensities, having been barraged from birth with untruths propagated by so called friends and relatives, the media, and the educational system. Yet the combined power of all that is material can be overcome by the power of the truth, even when spoken by an apparently insignificant person. The message of the truth directly addresses the inner being of the hearer and assaults the false ego, the persona by which each individual seeks to shield himself from the reality of being subordinate to and controlled by the supreme truth. The message of the truth will pain and shock egoist persons, but genuine seekers of the truth will rejoice upon receiving it. It is particularly to benefit such sincere persons that devotees should not fail to speak the truth. Such precious souls can sense what is genuine and what is bogus, and are quick to embrace the truth and reject hedging and duplicity. The light and airy approach, deliberately avoiding weighty issues, may superficially appeal to many superficial people whose interest in Krishna consciousness is unlikely to go beyond the superficial. As Srila Prabhupada observed, those who want to be cheated do not take the solution even when it is at hand, but prefer to be cheated. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada warned to not compromise our principles, because those who are actually sincere about spiritual life will gradually see the purity of a movement as you are conducting it, and they will become attracted to the real thing. Srila Prabhupada also noted that if we speak the truth, those will hear our Srila Prabhupada also noted that if we speak the truth, those will hear who are intended to hear by being qualified or prepared. He stressed that if devotees behave properly in Krishna consciousness and widely propagate the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, then sincere souls will automatically be attracted. Quote, simply quote. Actually, if we simply keep ourselves Krishna conscious, chanting our prescribed rounds, and following the regulative principles, then automatically the sincere souls who we are, who we come in contact with, will automatically be attracted. This is because we are not bluffing anyone. And if someone is seriously after perfecting himself in spiritual life, then surely he will agree with all of our principles and he will wish to join us. Other so-called yoga societies in this country are actually offering only nonsense or forms of sense gratification, but such material activities will not sufficiently attract one who is serious about real spiritual life. Real spiritual life means acting in our constitutional position of the eternal servants of the Lord. So we must offer the sublime signs of Bhagavad Gita to the population at large, and those who are actually serious will take advantage. End quote. Persons who are ready to receive the truth are the best candidates for becoming dedicated devotees and spiritual leaders capable of bringing many people to genuine Krishna consciousness. Just as appeal to the emotions will turn to attract sentimentalists, only intelligible presentations of Shastric truths are likely to induce thoughtful persons to make a conscious, reasoned commitment to devotional life. An example of this was Ravindra Swarup Das, who recounted his first visit to an ISKCON center. Quote, I never heard anything as welcome as a lecture after the chanting. The devotee spoke very strongly about the need to become free from material desires. He laid down four regulative principles, the pillars of spiritual life: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. I know that many people who hear this in a Krishna temple are put off. I was attracted at once. At last, I thought, someone is willing to tell the truth. End quote. Such truth seekers are relatively rare, yet they are precious. We do not expect that 10% of people will become Krishna conscious. That is not possible. But if there is one ideal Krishna conscious person, he can do benefit to many thousands. But actually, more people than we might imagine are sick of impersonal mumbo jumbo and are thirsting to hear some straightforward, honest words that make sense and appeal to the soul. We can never discover such people unless we speak the straightforward, honest message of Krishna consciousness that they crave to hear. Axiomatically, the aim of preaching is to bring people to devotional service, not to deliberately drive them away. And the knowledge that the people need to hear is unlikely to be as well received as a nonsense that they prefer to hear. Still, the truth must be spoken, even though demons will become angry and the insincere will melt away. But the gain which makes worthwhile all the difficulties that are inevitable in straightforward preaching is that sincere people come forward and accept Krishna consciousness as it is. We should not miss reaching the sincere due to the fear of disturbing the insincere. Certainly, it's a great loss if anyone, upon hearing an immature presentation of Krishna consciousness, becomes disinclined towards this perfect process. But it's still greater loss if a sincere seeker misses the opportunity to hear the truth due to a devotee's unwillingness, or whatever reason, to unambiguously and unreservedly disseminate the truth. I learned this in the early 1980s when a respectable young British man visited our ISKCON ashram in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and told us that he was seeking direction in life. I was as excited to preach to him as he was eager to hear. But the two God brothers of mine who were present suggested that we should be low key and friendly and not impose on him. I acquiesced, but later learned that the man had become a Christian. We failed him and we failed Srila Prabhupada by not giving the clear guidance that he craved. Therefore, all followers of Srila Prabhupada should make one with their heart. Chitete Kariye Akya, his order to deliver these pure signs of God to everyone and give them the chance to make their life successful. Even though it is not expected that numerous people will immediately accept the message as it is, still, as more and more do so, the effect will become cumulative and increasingly powerful. Conversely, if we neglect to offer unadulterated Krishna consciousness, then no one will know of it, let alone have an opportunity to accept it, although some might take a diluted version. Hence, Srila Prabhupada urged his disciples to give all men this Krishna philosophy and assured them that by doing so, many real devotees will come with us back to home, back to Godhead. 6. Chapter 6, Fight with Shastras. Devotees must learn how to fight not like ruffians, but by wielding the sword of knowledge received from the acharyas. In the battle against Maya, Shastra, Vedic scripture, the word of Krishna, is the astra weapon. Speaking according to Shastra not only gives strength to the preacher, but is very hallmark of authenticity. If he does not speak according to Shastra, he is simply bogus. Quote, Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chitete Kariyakya. One should accept a thing as genuine by studying the words of saintly people, the spiritual master, and the Shastra. The actual center is the Shastra, the revealed scripture. If a spiritual master does not speak according to the revealed scripture, he is not to be accepted. Similarly, if a saintly person does not speak according to the Shastra, he is not a saintly person. The Shastra is the center for all. End quote. Therefore, neither a sadhu, saintly person or Vaishnava, nor a bona fide spiritual master says anything that is beyond the scope of the sanction of the revealed scriptures. The attempt to practice or preach Krishna consciousness without adherence to Shastra cannot at all be beneficial. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina एकांतिकी हरिर्भक्तिर उपताया वे kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. The word of Shastra, especially of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, carry immense potency for slashing ignorance. Devotees slash ignorance. Santa evasya chindanti mano vyasangam uktibhi. By repeating the words of Shastra, which are meant to pierce the heart and sever all misgivings, vidyate hidaye granthis chidyante sarva samshaya. In this vein, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Tasmat ajnana shambhutam hirtham jnana sinatmana चित्वैनं संशयं yogam atish atishto tishta bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. Devotees in the modern age perform bhakti yoga by fighting for Krishna. armed with a weapon of Shastric knowledge. In each and every meeting, you should go and challenge these persons, but you must be equipped very strongly with the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada attributed his success to his imparting the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita as it is, without adulteration. For a little bit of a pure thing is much better than huge volumes of impure, adulterated things. Quote, perhaps throughout the whole world, it is the first time we are preaching Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are the only institution in the world that is preaching Bhagavad Gita as it is, and people are liking it. Before that, for the last 200 years, so many Swamis and yogis tried to preach Hindu philosophy, Vaishnavism. Not a single person became a devotee of Krishna. Not a single person. Now you see so many young men. Why? Why is the difference? Because we did not present Bhagavad Gita adulterated. Present it as it is. That's all. What is the use of preaching adulterated things? End quote. For the modern age, Shastra primarily means Srila Prabhupada's books, and preaching means to preach from those books. Quote, the three books which I have already prepared, namely the Bhagavad Gita as it is, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and Shrimad Bhagavatam, all these big books, all these books are the ultimate source of knowledge. If you simply reproduce what I have tried to explain in those books, surely you will come out victorious, even in the midst of so many great mundane scholars. The descriptions given in these books are not mundane speculation, but they are authorized versions of liberated souls, presented by our humble self. So the strength is not in us, but the strength is in the Supreme Lord. And we have simply to present them without any adulteration, in humble service spirit. That is the secret of success. End quote. Shastric teaching should be conveyed without change, yet also with consideration of the eligibility of the target audience. Shastric lore covers the whole spectrum of spiritual knowledge, up to the highest level of Radha Krishna Prem. But people in general who are inculturated to think of this world as nice first need to hear that it is not at all nice, that they do not belong here, and that they should endeavor to get out. Srila Prabhupada never tired of making these points, and he repeatedly quoted some of the most devastating Shastric verses that demonstrate them. As Tamala Krishna Goswami recalled, no matter how important the person was, Prabhupada spoke about dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Swavid varohostra khare samstuta purusha pashu nayat karana pathe peto jatu nama gadagraja. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. Some more Prabhupada favorite from Rishabhadev's teaching. Nayam deho deha bhajam naraloke kastan kaman arate vid bhujam ye tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam sudyate yasmad brahma saukhyate tvanantam. Of all living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified. And when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. नूनं प्रमत्त कुरुते विकर्म यद इंद्रिया प्रियता अप्रणोति न साधु मन्येयता आत्मनोयम आसान अपि क्लशद आशा देहा. When a person, please forgive my pronunciation, I'm not the best, in all this. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. पुंसास्त्रिया मिथुनादिभावम् एतं तयोर्मिथो हृदया ग्रन्थिम् अहु अतो ग्रहक्षेत्रसुतापवितेर् जानस्य मोहयम् aham mameti. The attraction between male and female is a basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. There are many similar verses in Shrimad Bhagavatam, which is the essential subject of the Vedas. Vedyam Vastavam Astravastu, the highest truth, reality, Vastavam, distinguished from illusion for the welfare. Shivadam, of all which approves the threefold misery, Tapa, Trayon, Mulanam, and at the outset rejects cheating religiosity, Dharma, Projita, Kaitavya. Although such pronouncements are not what most people generally expect or like to hear, they are the truth that Srila Prabhupada preached and told his disciples to preach. Quote, to preach Bhagavad religion, sometimes we have to quote from the Shastras that what is not palatable to unscrupulous so-called religious persons. But in preaching, we cannot do without quoting the proper verses. Sometimes they take it adversely and we become subject to unwanted criticism. We are presenting Krishna's philosophy and teaching as it is. And what can we do more? But this process of presentation has become fortunate and we have become successful. I do not wish to change the process. I hope you will appreciate this process of preaching the facts as they are confirmed by all Vaishnava Acharyas. End quote. Representatives of the Parampara are duty bound to present the words of Krishna. Quote, if we are really Krishna conscious, then our business is to repeat the words of Krishna. That's all. What is the difference between Krishna's representative and non representative? The representative of Krishna will simply repeat what Krishna says. That's all. He becomes a representative. It does not require much qualification. You simply repeat with firm conviction. End quote. One who assumes the position of a devotee of Krishna, the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, but nonetheless fails to properly represent Krishna by, unmitigatedly speaking the truth of the Gita, indulges in deceit and hypocrisy and steps outside the parampara. Seventh, convinced, bold, clear, provocative, fresh. Strong and clear preaching is required to convince people to embrace Krishna consciousness with full commitment, which is the only way to become fully Krishna conscious. And it is conviction in the veracity and necessity of Krishna consciousness. There is no question of accepting or not accepting Krishna consciousness. It is not optional, it is compulsory. If we do not take to Krishna consciousness, our life is very risky. That impels devotees to continue battling throughout their lives against opposing elements within themselves, within Vaishnava society, and within the entire world. The exemplar for upfront preachers in the modern age is, of course, Srila Prabhupada, who expertly presented the truths of Vaishnava philosophy in a cogent and forceful manner, explaining why he was right and others wrong, so that listeners would be compelled to either accept his position or be exposed for their foolishness. One of the innumerable examples of Srila Prabhupada's boldness occurred during 1973 when he was officially honored by the city of Paris, represented by the vice president of the Paris City Council, a post equivalent to the mayor of an American city. Before the devotees' arrival, they were informed of the protocol. After entering the reception, everyone should stand, and then the vice president would present an address to which Srila Prabhupada could reply. But upon entering, Srila Prabhupada sat. The vice president seemed nervous, and everyone was looking at Srila Prabhupada. Yogeshwar Das leaned over and said, Srila Prabhupada, they are waiting for you to stand. Srila Prabhupada replied, I am supposed to stand for who? So the president delivered his greeting to a seated Srila Prabhupada. That was probably the first time in the history of the country that anyone had been received in Paris City Hall without their standing up. Yogeshwar Das narrated, quote, the vice president stated that Paris had always been conscious of spiritual values and was very happy to receive an ambassador of Indian spirituality. He spoke many words of appreciation of Srila Prabhupada. When the vice president ended his address, Srila Prabhupada stood and explained that within the body is a soul, that in a human form of body, we can understand our real constitutional position. And then rhetorically asked, if the leaders of human society do not give education to the human society, how can the spirit soul get out of the clutches of birth, death, old age, and disease? Srila Prabhupada continued, interspersing praise of the Srila Prabhupada continued, interspersing praise of the France with observations such as that even big heroes like Napoleon eventually had to leave their country, warning that if due to love of one's country one is reborn therein as a cow and is sent to the slaughterhouse, Srila Prabhupada quoted, Parabhavastavad abodha jato yavanna jigyasata atmatattva tattvam. Whatever he is doing, unless a person is interested in his spiritual identity, he is simply being defeated. End quote. After Srila Prabhupada's broadside, his host, particularly the vice president, looked very nervous. Then the devotees distributed prasad and everyone became relaxed. Regarding this incident, Yogeshwar Das commented, quote, he was strong and at the Prabhupada style. He did not mince word. He could be very understanding and was also and was always sensitive, but never compromising. An opportunity like this in the City Hall of Paris, before the mayor, before the press, before dignitaries, Srila Prabhupada was the Acharya, the representative of Krishna and Krishna's world. And there was no compromising the message at all, ever. End quote. A devotee who has faith in Krishna's teaching is not embarrassed to present them as confidently as Srila Prabhupada did. Devotees should know that they are on a very solid ground, that they are not presenting nebulous, unverifiable dogmas, but undeniable facts of spiritual understanding, which, if systematically imparted, should be easily understandable by any clear thinking person. That the self is distinct from the body, that everyone in this world is inexorably subject to the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease, that all is not one, and that human life without the quest for self realization is, in essence, little different from that of the animals. Hence, statements that seem ordinary to devotees are extraordinary for the uninformed and can revolutionize people's life. Devotees should be convinced that our philosophy has the full potency to deliver anyone from the darkest realms of ignorance to the enlightened realms of complete cognizance. Those who are convinced can convince others. First, you must yourself become fully convinced of this philosophy. Your preaching will meet with all success. Devotees who are seized of the need Devotees who are seized of the need to surrender to Krishna are also seized of the need to convey this necessity to others. With this conviction, they can go anywhere, challenge anyone, and be victorious everywhere, as was Srila Prabhupada. Quote, "You scientists, you are all rascals. You do not know anything, chewing the chewed, making research. What research you can do? You do not know anything. The Vedic injunction is Yasmin Vignate Sarvam. Yasmin Vignate Sarvam Evam Vignatam Bhavati. If you know the absolute truth, then all other things become known. But you do not know that absolute truth. But you do not know the absolute truth. Therefore, you are in ignorance. We are not official scientists or philosophers or anything. But why are you challenging? You are talking so boldly. Because we know one thing, Krishna. Therefore, we can say so boldly and challenge anyone. How can I challenge you? Because I know Krishna. If you know Krishna, the absolute truth, then all other things will be known automatically. We are preaching Krishna consciousness, challenging all kinds of men in society. So many scientists are coming, so many psychologists coming. So, how we are confident to talk with them? Because we have learned little about Krishna. You are a qualified scientist. Why I challenge you? Not that because you are my disciple, you are accepting all my challenges. You have got your reasons. You are not a fool. So how is it possible? Practically, how is it possible? Because we are trying to know little about Krishna. If you know Krishna, you know everything. Sometimes you have to challenge big scientists and philosophers, but by the grace of Krishna, we emerge successful. It is impossible, practically speaking, for ordinary men to challenge scientists or philosophers concerning genuine knowledge, but a devotee can challenge them because the best of everything is known to a devotee by the grace of Krishna. We can talk with anyone, Marx, Darwin, all professors and politicians. We can challenge and defeat them. Our philosophy is so perfect. So go on exposing them. That's the purpose of Back to Godhead paper, to expose their materialist ideas as all nonsense and present the real philosophy that the Lord gives. This is the real knowledge. End quote. Indeed, the ability to counter and overcome opposition is a sign of becoming elevated in devotional service. Quote. The more one can meet the opposite element successfully, the more one is supposed to be advanced in Krishna consciousness. End quote. Advanced devotees have the faith and conviction to speak the message of the acharyas as they spoke it. Such devotees create faith in others in a manner that those who fluff and croon can never do, and they thereby receive the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas for bringing people to ahetuki aprahiti hata, unmotivated and uninterrupted pure devotional service. Those who lack the faith and conviction to straightforwardly repeat the message of the acharyas might get the acharyas' mercy in another form, that of Dhanajana Sundari, the seemingly success of collecting funds and properties, many followers, and hordes of adoring female disciples. But advanced devotees care nothing for the illusory benefits that may accrue from mixed devotional service because they are resolute in their principles, character, and determination. Their every word resounds with clarity, intelligence, and the mettle to declare that which needs to be stated even at the risk of upsetting others and making themselves unpopular. Krishna invests potency into the utterances of such devotees. The potent words of realized souls penetrate the heart. thereby eradicating all misgivings accumulated through years of undesirable association. Such empowered devotee, referred to by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as living sources, present Krishna consciousness unabashedly with clear understandings of its principles and its necessities. On the other hand, weak or vague presentations intrinsically lack power and cannot help anyone become fixed in Krishna consciousness. To sincere and discerning people, vagueness conveys ignorance, indifference, confusion, compromise, dissembling, and cowardice. One who is vague and evades the real probably will not upset others, but neither will he be able to impress upon them the seriousness and urgency of Krishna consciousness. Vagueness and indirect appeal, especially to impersonalists who want to enjoy feeling spiritual without making any spiritual commitment, who have no actual spiritual knowledge but simply mouth what sounds spiritual. Mayavadis must be vague because they have no clear understanding and do not know what they are talking about. Furthermore, they are envious of Krishna. Even those Mayavadis who speak of God do so without stipulating who is an abstract word. Even those Mayavadis who speak of God do so without stipulating who he is, as if God was just an abstract word to be defined according to each individual's liking. However much Mayavadis may talk of God, they are actually atheists. For implicit in their terminology is denial of the Supreme Person, to whom all other living beings must submit, who alone is correctly denoted by the word God. Similarly, devotees whose preaching intentionally avoids delineation of the uncompromised scientific truths of Krishna consciousness cannot induce in others the disposition towards full surrender to Krishna. Such preaching often resembles and is likely to reinforce the envious misconceptions of impersonalists. But real preaching is meant to change impersonalists into devotees, not that devotees should become like impersonalists. Preaching means to convert Mayavadis to Vaishnava. Otherwise, where is the need of preaching? By not presenting Krishna consciousness in the natural way, as it is, a devotee who speaks vaguely necessarily presents something else, his own incorrect perspective on reality, because he is not convinced that Krishna consciousness makes sense, or for whatever reasons fails to present it sensibly, he willingly makes he willingly speaks nonsense. By obfuscating the clarity of the Krishna conscious message, he acts as an enemy of the truth. Anyone who deviates from the principle of repeating the message of the acharyas thereby subtly or brazenly promote himself. Another type of self promoter uses the powerful message and analogies of Shastras and the Acharyas, yet fails to acknowledge the source of this knowledge, thus posing as a self enlightened repository of wisdom. And those who speak the message of Shastra but never bring it to the conclusion of surrender to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply propound the kind of wisdom confined to mundane moralizing and personal improvement that is marketed by yet another genre of self promoting pseudo spiritualist. On the other hand, a devotee who is truly convinced of the truth of Krishna consciousness cannot blatantly acquaints with the hypocritical, incomplete, imperfect, and latently envious pronouncements of persons ignorant of or opposed to the principle of pure devotional service to Krishna. If he is to convince such ignoramuses, if he is to convince such ignoramu, ignoramuses, a devotee must be even more convinced of the transcendental reality of Krishna consciousness than they are of their wrong persuasions. Many people just do not know that the self is not the body, but an eternal spirit soul, and that human life is not meant for sense gratification, but for spiritual realization. Even persons who have heard these truths are mostly numb to the implications of such vital existential facts. They tend to think of spiritual knowledge as otherworldly, impractical, and irrelevant to what they perceive as a real world. Yet devotees prefer a credible, philosophically sound alternative to the stereotyped worldview that both materialist and supposedly spiritual people rarely question, or even if they do, are seemingly unable or unwilling to progress beyond. Devotees have original, refreshing, and viable solutions for all world problems. For instance, that poverty, ecological imbalance, terrorism, and all other anomalies, factual or imagined, can be overcome only by Krishna consciousness. Obviously, it is required that such bold claims be well explained and not simply stated dogmatically. Quote, they must know what is God, how to trust Him, why we shall trust God, what is the benefit. These things should be known, properly educated. We have got the science. We are not speaking blindly or sentimentally. End quote. Srila Prabhupada suggested how to present such topics. Quote, human life begins when there is a systematic education in the science of God consciousness. Just some days ago, I was discussing with Professor Alistair Hardy, head of Religious Experimental Research Unit, Oxford. It was his opinion that the problems of human life are overpopulation, environmental pollution, etc. But from Bhagavad Gita, we understand that God is the father of all living beings. So the father must be competent to provide for all the children. And in the case of the Supreme Father, this is actually so. We get it from Vedic literature. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. Amongst all the eternals, there is one chief eternal being, and he is engaged in supplying and fulfilling the desires of all the others. Therefore, our conclusion was that the real problem is not overpopulation or pollution, malnutrition, etc., but the actual problem is godlessness. So you are all intelligent boys and girls. Therefore, my request to you is that you study the science of Krishna consciousness and solve all the problems of the world by systematic propaganda as far as you are able to do it. End quote. Actually, this world is like a hospital. We are all like sons of rich men running mad in the streets. Our father Krishna or God is the wealthiest father, and we are all his sons gone mad. Someone is thinking, oh, give him food, that will help. Or give him house or clothes, this or that. But the madness is still there. Actually, they have got sufficient of everything from their father, but they have run off mad. So, this kind of bodily welfare work will not help. The world is supposed to be a place for curing men of the varieties of diseases of madness and sending them back home like a hospital. But men have now got the mistaken idea to make a permanent settlement in this madhouse. Just like the hog is eating stool and is thinking, oh, I'm enjoying like anything. And when I'm finished, then sex with any she hog, wife, daughter, sister, it doesn't matter. And for so many children, I shall have to have big house and on like this. All because of his madness that he thinks I am enjoying. So preach like this, and I think many people will appreciate our philosophy and gain respect for this Krishna consciousness movement. Do everything very cleanly and nicely. End quote. One facet of Srila Prabhupada's brilliance was his ability to convey this most profound science of spirituality in a manner accessible even to layman. He did not speculate, juggle words, or play at being a sadhu or an armchair theorist. He delivered Shastric arguments in an authoritative and strikingly intelligent manner that compelled honest person to take them seriously. Srila Prabhupada's presentation was hearteningly clear and specific, a hallmark of actual knowledge. In contrast to the opaque convolutions of Mayavadis, which are designed to keep others guessing and which suggest that only the Mayavadis know the truth and others cannot. Mayavadis typically utter stock phrases like inner landscape, inner life, and spiritual journey, cheating their willing cheating their willingly gullible followers by deliberately leaving such terms undefined and thus conveying abstractions that sound intriguingly spiritual, although no one knows what they mean. Their insights keep everyone on the outside. Their revolutions reveal nothing but their own speciousness and ignorance. Srila Prabhupada exposed these so called knowers as bluffers, for they are merely guessing and their guesses are badly wrong. Unfortunately, the world is inundated by countless permutations of bogus ideas. Massive demonic indoctrination urges people to act in ways highly detrimental to their own and others' self interest. Considering that even mundane propaganda requires insistent repetition to make an impact, this understanding being the basis of the advertising industry's relentless touting of sense gratification, surely only the most dynamic counter promotion of genuine spiritual values has any hope of being noticed. Prabhus, we will come to the end of today's reading. Thank you so much, all, for joining in for today's reading of this Nectarian book on speaking strongly in Srila Prabhupada's service. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. There's a